There comes a time in every person's life when noise becomes too heavy to carry. The chatter of the world, the opinions that tug at your self-worth, the whispers that tell you who you should be and what you should do. All of it begins to drown the still voice within you. And when you finally grow tired of that noise, when you begin to crave something quieter, you'll find that the most powerful thing you can ever do is focus on yourself and stay silent. Because silence is not emptiness. It is not absence. Silence is strength wearing grace. It is wisdom choosing peace over validation. It is the stillness of someone who knows that their life is about to change because they've stopped feeding it to everyone else's expectations. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean becoming selfish. It means you stop bleeding your energy into places that give nothing back. It means you learn that your healing is not a public performance. The world will ask you to share every piece of your story, every move you make, every thought you have. But there is sacredness in privacy. The most beautiful growth happens in secret. A seed doesn't scream while it's breaking open underground. A flower doesn't announce its bloom. It simply opens. That's the power of silence. It allows your transformation to unfold without interruption, without judgment, without anyone trying to rearrange your destiny with their opinions. There will be people who misinterpret your silence. They'll say you've changed, you've grown distant, you've become cold. But they don't realize that peace often looks like distance to those who thrive in chaos. They'll say you're ignoring them, when really you're just listening to yourself. They'll think you're arrogant, when in truth you're simply protecting your energy. Don't let their misunderstanding pull you back into noise. When you begin to focus on yourself, you start seeing how much of your life was spent explaining, defending, or proving something. And you realize how unnecessary all that was. You don't have to prove your peace to anyone. You just have to live it. Focusing on yourself is an act of faith. It's saying, I believe in my journey enough to give it my full attention. It's refusing to be distracted by comparison or criticism. When you focus on yourself, you begin to see how much of your power you gave away trying to be liked. You start to recognize that attention is not affection, and applause is not love. You learn that real validation doesn't echo outside, it grows quietly within. Every time you choose silence over reaction, every time you choose peace over explanation, every time you walk away instead of arguing, you are building a kind of strength that can't be measured by noise. The beauty of silence is that it reveals who you are when no one is watching. It teaches you what you truly value. When you stop chasing everyone else's validation, you start hearing your own intuition clearly. You realize you already know what to do. You just needed quiet enough to listen. The world rewards loudness, but life rewards depth, and depth is born in stillness. Every moment you spend focused inward becomes an investment in clarity, and clarity changes everything. You stop confusing activity with progress. You stop mistaking attention for love. You stop running toward things that drain you just because they glitter. In your silence, you'll begin to see that you were never behind. You were just busy watching others run. You'll see that your timing was never wrong. It was just waiting for you to stop rushing. You'll realize that you are already equipped for the life you dream of. You just needed to stop doubting your worth. And you'll find that silence teaches you patience. The kind of patience that says, what's mine will find me. The kind of patience that no longer begs for what must be earned. The kind that trusts timing over desperation. Because when you focus on yourself, you don't chase. You attract. You don't explain. You embody. You don't shout. You shine. Staying silent doesn't mean suppressing your voice. It means mastering it. It means knowing when to speak and when to let your actions speak for you. There's power in quiet endurance. Power in walking away without resentment. power in holding your peace while the world tries to provoke you. Some people only understand drama. They think silence means weakness. But silence is restraint. It's the mark of someone who has learned that not every reaction deserves energy, and not every insult deserves an audience. When you can stay calm in the face of chaos, you've already won a battle most people never realize they're fighting. You'll notice how your world shifts when you stop explaining your every move. People will grow uncomfortable with your silence because they can no longer predict you. They'll wonder what you're up to, what you're thinking, what you're planning. That mystery unsettles those who were once fed by your openness. But that's the beauty of silence. It builds boundaries without confrontation. You don't need to block everyone. You just stop giving them access to your peace. You stop sharing your plans with people who secretly doubt you. You stop confiding in those who listen only to gossip later. You stop giving your sacred dreams to careless hands. And suddenly, you begin to feel lighter. Life starts changing when you stop scattering your energy. When your attention is no longer divided between who's watching you and who's approving of you, you gain something invaluable: focus. And that focus turns into power. You start working quietly on your goals. You stop posting about every move you make. You stop announcing your blessings before they're secure. You learn to let success make the noise. You begin to realize that the quiet grind is where real growth happens. The world celebrates outcomes, but the sacred work happens in the shadows. Don't rush to show people your progress. Let them see the results when it's time. There is something magnetic about a person who minds their business, moves in silence, and glows from within. You can feel their peace before they speak. You can sense their boundaries without them saying a word. They don't need to broadcast their strength. It radiates naturally. That kind of energy doesn't chase validation. It attracts respect. And it's built by years of focusing inward, healing quietly, and learning from the silence that once felt lonely. Yes, silence can feel lonely at first. When you withdraw your attention from people and distractions, you'll face yourself. You'll see your insecurities, your fears, your old wounds. And that confrontation can be uncomfortable. But it's also liberating. Because the truth is, most people avoid silence because they're afraid of what it might reveal. They fill their lives with noise to avoid their own reflection. But when you dare to face your own silence, you find a kind of freedom that no distraction can match. You stop running from yourself. You stop needing to be constantly entertained or reassured. You become enough for yourself. And that's the foundation of real confidence. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean cutting the world off. It means coming back home to yourself. It means giving yourself the time to grow, to grieve, to rest, to rebuild. It means learning to enjoy your own company again. You start taking yourself on quiet walks, writing your thoughts down, creating without needing an audience. You find peace in simplicity. You begin to realize that joy isn't in possessions or praise. It's in presence. You learn to breathe deeper, to appreciate the little things, to feel gratitude not because everything is perfect, but because you're learning through it all. When you make peace with your silence, you begin to attract people who respect it. You'll draw in those who understand your calm rather than challenge it. People who don't demand constant attention, but add value to your peace. Because the energy you cultivate within yourself is the same energy that your life begins to mirror back. Focused energy creates a focused life. Peaceful thoughts create peaceful surroundings. And when you learn to stay silent, you allow life itself to do the talking for you. Opportunities start aligning. Situations start resolving. People who don't belong quietly fade away. You don't have to fight for closure. Silence gives it to you. The world often teaches you to be louder, faster, busier. But the soul thrives on calm. The mind sharpens in stillness. The heart heals in quiet. That's why solitude is sacred. That's why focusing on yourself is not neglect, it's nurture. When you spend time understanding who you are and what you need, you start making decisions that honor your peace. You stop trying to fit into rooms where your energy doesn't belong. You stop apologizing for your boundaries. You begin to say no without guilt and yes without fear. You stop waiting for permission to live authentically. The day you start focusing on yourself is the day your life starts shifting in your favor. You'll see the world through a different lens. The things that used to upset you will no longer have the same power. You'll stop overreacting to the temporary. You'll stop begging for what's meant to flow. You'll stop explaining your worth to people who were never ready to see it. You'll understand that silence is not avoidance. It's maturity. It's the art of knowing that not every truth needs to be told, and not every fight needs to be fought. In time, the people who misunderstood your silence will witness your transformation. They'll see how peace reshaped your presence. They'll see how you started glowing differently. But by then, you won't need them to notice. Because you'll have learned the quiet truth of life, that everything you were chasing outside of you was waiting for you inside all along. The love, the peace, the validation, the clarity. It was always there, hidden beneath the noise. So keep your silence sacred. Protect it like a treasure. Work in it, heal in it, grow in it. Don't let the world rush you out of your peace. Remember that not everything deserves a reaction. Not every emotion requires expression. Some of the most powerful moments of your life will happen in private, in stillness, in quiet surrender to your own growth. You'll find yourself sitting in the same room where you once felt restless, now feeling grounded. You'll look at the same people who once drained you, now seeing them with compassion but no attachment. You'll walk through the same storms that once shook you, now unbothered, because silence has taught you how to stand still in strength. One day you'll thank yourself for choosing silence over reaction, patience over pressure, solitude over noise. You'll look back and realize that while everyone else was busy being seen, you were busy becoming. And that made all the difference. Focus on yourself and stay silent, not because you're hiding, but because you're preparing. You're evolving quietly into someone the old version of you could barely imagine. And when that transformation fully unfolds, you won't have to say a word. Your peace will speak. Your glow will testify. Your silence will echo louder than any speech ever could. Because the truth is, when you focus on yourself and stay silent long enough, life begins to speak on your behalf. And its voice is louder, wiser, and more beautiful than any noise the world could ever make. When you stop chasing attention, you start attracting respect. There is a quiet shift that happens inside you the moment you no longer seek approval from every corner of the world. You stop bending yourself into shapes just to be noticed. You stop performing for people who never clapped when you were struggling. You begin to understand that attention is cheap. It's easy to get, but hard to keep when it's built on pretense. Respect, on the other hand, is earned through authenticity. When you no longer beg for people to see you, you create space for those who truly value what you are. The moment you stop trying to be liked by everyone, you begin to be respected by the right ones. Attention thrives on noise. It wants you to keep talking, showing, proving. But respect is drawn to quiet confidence. It's the difference between someone shouting for recognition and someone who simply lives in truth. The person chasing attention will exhaust themselves trying to be seen, while the person focused on becoming better quietly becomes undeniable. People start noticing not because you demanded their gaze, but because your energy commands presence without effort. Respect flows naturally toward those who carry themselves with grounded assurance. You no longer feel the need to defend who you are, because your consistency does the speaking. When you chase attention, you hand over your power to the crowd. You start shaping your worth around how others respond to you. You post, you perform, you speak, waiting for the applause that tells you you're enough. But that applause fades, and with it goes your peace. You become addicted to being seen, forgetting that the truest validation comes from within. When you step back and focus on your purpose instead of the spotlight, your energy shifts. You begin to create not for approval, but from authenticity. You work not to impress, but to express. That's when respect begins to grow, because people can sense sincerity even in silence. Respect doesn't demand attention. It earns it through presence. It's not loud, it's steady. It's not about proving your greatness, but embodying it in the small details. The way you treat others, the way you handle challenges, the way you stay composed when life tries to pull you out of character. When people see you rise without shouting, they start paying attention differently. It's no longer curiosity, it's admiration. You become the person whose energy speaks louder than their words. You stop needing to tell the world who you are because your behavior has already said it for you. This is the quiet transformation that happens when you stop chasing attention. You stop feeling desperate for recognition and start walking in purpose. You realize that your silence has more power than your explanations ever did. The ones who used to overlook you begin to wonder how they missed your strength for so long. The ones who doubted you begin to respect your calm. Because the moment you detach from needing to be seen, you become someone impossible to ignore. Stillness reveals what distractions were hiding. When life finally slows down, when the noise fades and the crowd disappears, you begin to see what was always there but overlooked. Distractions have a way of keeping you from yourself. They disguise confusion as business, anxiety as ambition, noise as progress. You convince yourself that you're moving forward because you're constantly in motion, but it's not movement that brings growth. It's clarity. And clarity only comes when you stop running long enough to listen. In stillness, you realize what your heart has been trying to say beneath all the noise. You begin to see which people drain you, which habits stunt you, and which dreams truly belong to you. Most people fear stillness because it exposes truth. When the distractions are gone, you can no longer hide behind them. The silence begins to show you what needs healing. It shows you where your peace was leaking, where your boundaries were weak, and where your worth was misplaced. Stillness is not comfortable at first. It can feel like standing under a bright light with nowhere to hide. But that discomfort is what begins the process of transformation. When you stop numbing yourself with noise, scrolling, talking, comparing, escaping, you give your soul room to breathe. You start to realize that much of what you thought you needed was only keeping you from what you truly need. In stillness, you meet yourself again. You remember the things that once made you feel alive before the world told you what should matter. You reconnect with that quiet confidence that doesn't depend on anyone's validation. You notice how your body feels when you're at peace versus when you're performing. You see how many things you used to tolerate simply because you were too distracted to notice their weight. Stillness has a way of bringing everything into focus. It's the space where confusion turns into understanding, where pain begins to make sense, and where direction becomes clear. When you stop running from yourself, the truth stops chasing you. You begin to see that the answers you were searching for were never out there. They were always within you, buried beneath layers of noise. Every distraction, every unnecessary attachment, every superficial chase was only a way to avoid sitting with yourself. But in stillness, you no longer need to escape. You find peace in simply being. You start to recognize that silence is not emptiness but fullness, a space where awareness grows. Stillness reveals the people who are meant to stay, and the ones who were only there for noise. It shows you how much energy you've wasted trying to fix what was never yours to carry. It opens your eyes to the power of peace, to the beauty of presence, to the wisdom that comes when you no longer fill every quiet moment with something loud. And once you experience that kind of clarity, you never want to go back to distraction again. Peace often looks like distance to those addicted to chaos. When you begin to prioritize your calm, it unsettles people who have grown comfortable with confusion. There are individuals who thrive on noise, who find their sense of importance in the middle of emotional storms. When you step away from that energy, when you stop responding to every provocation, when you no longer participate in the drama they feed on, they start to label you as distant, cold, or detached. But what they call distance is actually protection. It's the quiet boundary that forms when you decide that your mental and emotional stability are worth more than temporary validation. Peace changes the rhythm of your life. It slows you down. It makes you thoughtful about your responses, careful with your time, and selective with your energy. To people who live in constant reaction, this calm feels unnatural. They can't understand how you can stay silent instead of arguing, how you can walk away instead of explaining, or how you can smile instead of matching their anger. They mistake your serenity for weakness because they confuse stillness with surrender. But peace is not passive. It is powerful. It takes strength to stay centered while others are trying to pull you into their storm. When you begin to detach from chaos, it doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop allowing turmoil to dictate your emotional temperature. You learn that not every situation deserves a reaction. You realize that your energy is too precious to waste on cycles that lead nowhere. You begin to understand that your peace is your responsibility, not anyone else's gift to give or take away. This kind of maturity doesn't sit well with those who depend on chaos to feel alive. Your calm forces them to face their own noise. Your silence makes them confront the emptiness they've been covering with arguments, gossip, and distraction. There will be moments when your peace isolates you, when it feels like you're walking alone, because you've stopped engaging in what no longer serves your growth. But that solitude is sacred. It's in those quiet spaces that you realize how draining chaos really was. You begin to feel lighter, clearer, stronger. You start seeing how many of your old connections were built on shared dysfunction rather than mutual respect. You learn that peace filters your life in a way nothing else can. It removes what can't exist in calmness. It pushes away people who need constant conflict to feel connection. Choosing peace means choosing yourself. It means refusing to let your emotions be controlled by external chaos. It means standing firm even when others try to provoke you into their storms. The more you protect your peace, the more distant you will seem to those who feed on disorder. They'll call you selfish because you no longer sacrifice yourself for their comfort. But what they see as withdrawal is actually growth. It's the quiet separation that happens when you outgrow chaos and begin to live in the stillness that once frightened you. Success built in silence speaks louder than words ever could. There's a special kind of power in working quietly, in moving with intention while the world remains unaware of your plans. When you build in silence, you protect your dreams from premature judgment. You give them space to grow strong before exposing them to the weight of other people's opinions. You learn that not every step of your journey needs to be announced, that true progress often looks invisible to others until it suddenly becomes undeniable. The loudest results are often born from the quietest seasons. It's in those unseen hours of effort, reflection, and patience that real transformation begins. In a world that glorifies visibility, choosing to be silent about your growth can feel countercultural. We're taught to share everything, to prove our worth through updates, validation, and applause. But real success doesn't need an audience while it's in progress. It requires focus, discipline, and humility. When you work in silence, you eliminate distractions. You stop performing for the crowd and start working for your purpose. You stop seeking attention and start creating impact. There's a deep peace that comes from knowing that you don't owe anyone proof of your progress. You just owe yourself consistency. The most powerful people are rarely the loudest. They don't broadcast their every move or talk endlessly about what they're going to do. They simply do it. Their silence isn't secrecy, it's concentration. It's the space where strategy replaces chatter, where preparation replaces boasting. They understand that talking drains the energy that action needs. The more you speak about what you're doing, the more you invite interference, doubt, and distraction. But when you move quietly, your success catches the world by surprise. It doesn't need an explanation, it's already evident. Building in silence also teaches patience. It forces you to trust timing rather than rush validation. You start to realize that growth is not meant to be instantaneous. The things that last are the things that take time. You plant seeds in silence, water them in effort, and let time bring them to light. Every moment of restraint, every time you hold back from showing the world what you're building, is a sign of wisdom. You understand that exposure too early can destroy what isn't ready. You let your results speak, because results have a language stronger than any promise. And when success finally comes, it arrives with grace. You don't have to announce it, people feel it in your presence. They see it in your peace, in your confidence, in the quiet way you carry yourself. Your energy shifts, your aura changes, and your silence becomes magnetic. The same people who doubted your calm start to ask how you did it. But you'll know that it wasn't about proving anything to them. It was about staying true to your path, trusting your process, and allowing silence to be your most powerful strategy. Silence teaches you who deserves access to your energy. When you stop constantly explaining yourself, defending your decisions, or sharing your every thought, you begin to see who is genuinely interested in your well-being, and who is only curious for their own benefit. Silence acts like a mirror. It reflects people's intentions clearly. Those who value you won't need endless words to understand you. They will respect your quiet, honor your space, and feel your energy even when you say nothing. But those who were drawn to your openness for selfish reasons will grow restless when they no longer have access to your vulnerability. Silence becomes a filter that separates connection from convenience. The moment you start setting energetic boundaries through silence, you learn the difference between people who love you and people who use you. Some were only around for your attention, for the energy you gave away so freely, for the comfort of your constant availability. They were never truly present for you. They were present for the version of you that served their needs. When you become quiet, when you stop offering that endless supply of emotional energy, you'll see how quickly some disappear. It can hurt at first, but it's also freeing. You stop mistaking attachment for loyalty and realize that not everyone who stands beside you has your best interest at heart. Silence helps you reclaim your energy. It stops the leaks that come from oversharing, over-explaining, and over-giving. You begin to see how often you exhausted yourself trying to be understood by people, committed to misunderstanding you. You start noticing how drained you felt after certain conversations, how uneasy you became after certain exchanges. Silence makes you aware of what your spirit feels in the presence of different people. You begin to listen to that inner nudge that tells you when something feels off. Energy doesn't lie, and silence helps you hear it more clearly. Through quiet observation, you start recognizing patterns. You notice who respects your boundaries and who keeps testing them. You see who checks on you without needing something in return. You notice who grows uncomfortable when you withdraw your emotional labor. The more silent you become, the more obvious people's true motives are. You no longer have to guess their intentions. Their reactions to your silence reveal everything. Some will honor it, and others will resent it. Those who resent it were never there for you. They were there for the version of you that constantly poured into them. Silence also teaches you how sacred your energy truly is. You begin to realize that not everyone deserves access to your mind, your emotions, or your time. You start giving selectively, intentionally, wisely. You learn that protecting your peace is not selfish. It's necessary. And as you grow comfortable with your own quiet, you become more aware of who can meet you there. The people who respect your silence are the ones who truly value your presence. They don't demand from you, they connect with you. They don't drain your energy. They match it. When you focus inward, life begins aligning outward. Everything changes the moment you stop trying to control what's outside of you and begin mastering what's within. You spend so much of your life trying to fix situations, people, and outcomes, thinking that peace will come once everything around you falls into place. But true alignment doesn't start with rearranging the world. It starts with rearranging yourself. When you begin to focus inward, when you choose to pay attention to your thoughts, emotions, and energy instead of chasing external validation, you start to see that life has a rhythm that naturally flows in your favor once you are in harmony with yourself. You realize that peace was never something you had to chase. It was something you had to uncover beneath all the noise. Focusing inward means taking responsibility for the energy you carry. It means asking yourself why you react the way you do, why certain things trigger you, and why you allow certain patterns to repeat. It's not about blaming yourself. It's about awakening. The more you understand your inner world, the less control the outer world has over you. You start to notice that when your mind is scattered, your circumstances often reflect that chaos. But when your heart is steady and your thoughts are aligned with peace, life begins to mirror that stillness. People respond differently, opportunities flow more naturally, and problems seem to lose their grip. The external world bends to the calmness you cultivate inside. When you focus inward, you begin to see that your peace is your power. The things that once consumed you no longer hold the same weight. The need to be understood, the urge to prove your worth, the habit of explaining your every decision, those start to fade. You stop chasing closure from others because you find it within. You stop forcing connections that drain you because you realize that nothing meant for you will ever require you to lose yourself. That inner shift changes everything. You walk differently, speak differently, and carry yourself with a quiet confidence that doesn't need validation. You become grounded, and people feel that grounding even before you speak. This inward focus also brings awareness to what no longer aligns with your peace. You start to see which environments make you shrink and which ones help you expand. You notice how certain conversations leave you empty, while others nourish your spirit. You begin to separate what feeds your growth from what feeds your ego. It becomes easier to say no without guilt and to say yes without hesitation. Because when you're in tune with yourself, your decisions flow from clarity, not confusion. You stop overthinking because you trust your intuition more than you trust external opinions. And that trust begins to align your life in ways that logic alone never could. Focusing inward also changes your relationship with time. You stop rushing. You stop feeling behind. You start realizing that everything happens in its season, and that your path doesn't need to look like anyone else's. When you focus on your own rhythm, instead of comparing it to others, you begin to find peace in your pace. The waiting periods that once frustrated you now feel purposeful. You start to see that the delay is not denial. It's divine timing preparing you for what's next. When you learn to align your inner patience with outer timing, life starts moving smoother. You attract the right people, the right moments, and the right blessings because your energy is no longer chaotic or desperate. It's steady, intentional, and open. As you focus more inward, your outer reality begins to shift in subtle yet profound ways. You'll notice that certain doors close, and instead of feeling panicked, you'll feel peace. You'll recognize that what leaves is making room for something better. You'll find yourself drawn to new environments, new passions, and new connections that reflect the growth within you. People who once matched your chaos may fall away, but those who value peace will start to appear. The alignment of your energy reshapes the world around you. Life stops feeling like a constant battle to control and starts feeling like a dance with purpose. When your inner world is aligned, even challenges begin to serve a higher purpose. You stop seeing difficulties as punishments and start seeing them as mirrors. Every experience becomes a teacher. You begin to ask, what is this showing me about myself? What is this moment asking me to release, to strengthen, to learn? This awareness transforms pain into growth. You realize that life isn't happening to you. It's happening for you, guiding you back into deeper alignment with your truth. The storms no longer scare you because you've learned how to find stillness within them. You stop waiting for calm weather to feel peaceful, and instead you bring peace into whatever weather comes. Focusing inward also awakens gratitude. You stop needing extraordinary things to feel fulfilled because you begin to notice the beauty in the ordinary. You start appreciating your morning coffee, the sound of rain, the warmth of sunlight, the latter that finds you unexpectedly. Gratitude grounds you in the present, and the present is where alignment truly lives. When you are grateful, your energy vibrates higher, and that frequency attracts more reasons to be thankful. Life begins to align around that frequency of contentment, and abundance flows with less resistance. It's not always easy to focus inward, especially when the outer world is demanding your attention. There will be days when you feel tempted to fall back into distraction, to seek comfort in chaos, to measure your worth by comparison. But those are the moments that test your alignment. That's when you must remind yourself that real peace is built through practice. Every time you choose self-awareness over reaction, you strengthen your alignment. Every time you pause before responding, every time you listen to your intuition instead of the crowd, you are deepening your connection to yourself. And the more connected you are within, the more clearly you can navigate everything outside of you. As your life starts aligning outward, you'll notice a sense of ease replacing effort. Things begin to fall into place without you forcing them. The right opportunities find you, because your energy is now a match for them. The people you meet feel different. They resonate with your growth, your peace, your purpose. You start realizing that what's meant for you isn't chased, it's attracted. And it's attracted when you are aligned with it on the inside. That's why focusing inward is not selfish. It's essential. The more peace you cultivate within yourself, the more harmony you bring into the world around you. You stop needing to control outcomes because you trust that everything unfolding is part of a bigger alignment. The disappointments that once broke you now redirect you. The uncertainty that once frightened you now excites you. You start trusting the process, knowing that as long as you remain true to your inner compass, everything will find its rightful place. You begin to live with a quiet kind of faith. The faith that says, I don't know how it will all work out, but I know I'm in alignment with what's right for me. And that faith begins to magnetize everything that matches your peace, your purpose, and your truth. That is the hidden magic of focusing inward. When you master your emotions, your energy, and your mindset, the outer world starts rearranging itself to reflect that mastery. Your circumstances, your relationships, your opportunities, all begin to mirror the calm, confident, and centered energy you've built within. What once felt like struggle now feels like flow. What once drained you now strengthens you. And it all begins not by changing everything around you, but by changing how you move within yourself. When you focus inward, life listens. It begins to meet you where you are, matching the peace you create, reflecting the love you give yourself, and aligning everything outside with the truth you've finally chosen to live inside.